When considering legislation at a United Methodist General Conference, what is constitutionality and why does it matter for the legislation? Great question. In this video, I'll explain why legislation needs to be constitutional and how that is determined. The United Methodist Book of Discipline outlines the laws of the denomination. The first 99 paragraphs are reserved for the Constitution. Similar to a civil government's constitution, the United Methodist Constitution lays out fundamental rights and laws of the denomination. All other subsequent paragraphs in the Book of Discipline, as well as legislative or legal actions taken in the Church, can be evaluated against the Constitution. If something doesn't conform to the constitutional standards, then that law or action can be declared unconstitutional and therefore null and void. For example, the Constitution in the 2016 Book of Discipline states that jurisdictional conferences and central conferences have the power to elect bishops. Adopting any other legislation that infringes on that power would be deemed unconstitutional. In order to change the rights and powers outlined in the Constitution, legislation to amend the Constitution would have to be passed. The Judicial Council is the highest court in the denomination, with ultimate authority to determine constitutionality. The Judicial Council has well-established procedures and a long history of written decisions. Past decisions provide precedents to guide determining whether a particular action or item is constitutional. However, it can be tricky to guess which way the Judicial Council will rule on specific cases brought to it. In just the past few General Conferences, legislative items have been adopted that contained complex plans for major changes in the denomination, and then the Judicial Council determined that all or part of that legislation was unconstitutional and could not be enacted. This can feel like a waste of time for the General Conference delegates who worked to pass that legislation. It has caused some people to request that the Judicial Council give advance opinions on the constitutionality of certain proposed legislation before the legislation is considered at General Conference. The submitters want to ensure that General Conference doesn't use up its time adopting unconstitutional legislation that will later be declared null and void. At the 2016 General Conference, the Judicial Council issued a declaratory decision regarding the Plan UMC revised legislation. Before the 2019 Special General Conference, the Judicial Council made declaratory decisions about the legislation comprising the One Church Plan and the Traditional Plan, and during that Special General Conference, the Judicial Council was asked to make additional declaratory decisions about legislation at various stages. That precautionary step may once again be taken at the 2020 General Conference. Many people are interested in the legislation to enact the Protocol of Reconciliation and Grace through Separation. Some have expressed interest in requesting that the Judicial Council make a declaratory decision on the proposed legislation before General Conference takes action on it. That way, General Conference delegates would know whether the protocol legislation is constitutional or whether some parts of it need to be amended to pass muster. Now you have the context to understand why constitutionality is important for General Conference legislation. If you are interested in more information about the Judicial Council, watch my previous video about what its members do and how they are elected. I have also linked to some online reference material in the description below. If you have any questions or suggestions for new videos, leave a comment below. You can also subscribe to get notifications about my future videos. Thanks for watching.